Where all my Billy Clan members at? Watching for the days of fashion. Tuning in from day to day. Wondering what Billy doing next. Fashion, money, stacks and stacks. Go get y'all go, y'all back. It's the 10th day. The 10th day. The 10th day. So y'all, today we're gonna be making some patterns. I'm gonna show y'all how I make patterns. Emphasis on how I make patterns because I don't know how to make patterns the correct way as of yet. But I will soon. But for right now, this is what we're gonna do. First thing you're gonna need is some paper. I went ahead and mapped out my paper. This is for one pattern piece. This is for another one. This is for another one. So you can use virtually any kind of paper. What's preferred is pattern paper. You can use, like I said, you can use whatever paper you have at home to make patterns. Starting out, baby fashion design and everything. You can use loose leaf like that was, copy paper, some cardstock, whatever. But also make sure you get you some pattern paper. The next thing you want to make sure you have is a ruler. So we're gonna borrow a ruler from yesterday when we draw our fashion sketches. Think about this as if one thing, like we drew our fashion sketches. Now we're gonna make our pattern. So today we're going to be making a bodice pattern or a pattern for a shirt. Just a regular old t-shirt. I don't have a French curve ruler yet that allows me to do like the little arm size and just different types of curves on the pattern. But we're just going to make this do what it do for right now. If you don't have your flexible bendy ruler, you can still make the curves with some other spherical shaped object. Then you're going to use some pencils, either a very dark pencil or a marker. I have these markers. I think I'm going to use black just so it can show up better for y'all. And next, you're going to need a shirt. So I have a little shirt, a little regular t-shirt. Before we get started on making the pattern, I want y'all to make sure y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe. For your paper, you're going to make a block about this much. This is 4 papers that I put all together. And just for comparison, you can just put from your neck to your waist, or however long you want your shirt to be. If you want your shirt to be a little longer, then you'll probably use 6 and you keep it in the same arrangement. After you lay down your paper, you're going to fold your shirt in half. So you make sure that the lines and seams of the arm side or armholes are lining up. It should look something like this. Next, we're going to lay that part on. Now at this point, it's up to you to decide whether you want the first paper to be the front of the shirt or you want it to be the back of the shirt. So once you've made that conclusion, I'm going to make this piece the front piece. And you're going to trace the basic with your ruler and your marker or pencil, whatever you use, is going to come in at. We're not going to do no curves yet. We're going to do straight lines first. So for the longer part that was down the center front, we're going to draw a straight line up until where it starts to curve for the neckline. And then after we've done that, we're going to trace onto the paper. These lines be made on our paper. Onto the paper, we're going to go from side seam to like about right here where the bottom of the armhole is to the hem of the shirt. While you're doing this too, make sure you add about 1 inch for seam allowance and for ease. Because even though this is a shirt that fits me, I may want it to fit a little bigger or feel boxier. This is where you do that. Once you put this pattern on some fabric and you cut it out, that's it. You can't alter it anymore. This is where you make your alterations depending on how you want your shirts to look and fit on you. So as you can see, this is where my center front line will be with the ease and the seam allowance, and this is where my side seam line will be. Now it's time to make those curves for your neckline and the arm side. You will begin this part by just doing dots. So on your shirt, there's this part and this part up here for the neckline. So since this is the front, we're going to be trying to remake this line right here. When we do the back piece, we just need to focus on doing this part, and we could just like fold it in the opposite direction. So on your paper, you're going to put dots where this starts and where this ends right here. And then you're going to combine them with a curved line, as curved as possible. Now, of course, it's not a deep curve, but also depending on how you want your shirt. But this is completely up to you how you want your neckline to be. I've added my 4 dots right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is basically just tracing like where the neckline starts, where it stops, where I want it to stop, where the arm side starts, and where I want it to stop right here. And then we're going to combine this line to this line with our ruler because it's going to be our shoulder seam. And this will be our neckline, and we're just going, like I said, just do a curve. If you want to to stay on the safe side, you could do this with a pencil first, then do it with a marker. And the same thing right here. This is less steep of a curve. Right now, your pattern should look something like this. We have our neck seam, we have our neckline curve, and we have our arm side curve. If you do mess up, by the way, when you cut it out, you can always correct it. So if you went in a little too far for the curve, it will just correct it when you cut it out. There's a line up here for the shoulder seam. Up next is labeling and marking our notches. Up next is our labeling process. So we're going to add our notches and we're going to add our lines to mark what the exact pattern is. We need to make sure that we signify that the pattern is the front. Notches. So notches are lines that we use for multiple reasons. We can use it to match seams. We can use it to match sleeves together. Notches are also used for marking our seam allowance. So I said we're going to add an inch for ease and seam allowance. The seam allowance will either be 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. And 1/4 of an inch is if it is an enclosed seam, and if it's not enclosed, it's for 1/2 an inch. So I'm going to do 1/2 of an inch. Let me show you where we'll put that. So up here will be our shoulders. We'll put a line. And we'll put a notch, a small little line, a short little line, probably by like 1/8 of an inch long below this line right here. And this will signify where to sew this when we cut out our piece. Our other notch will be for the side seam. And it'll also be 1/2 of an inch away from this line right here and at the bottom. And on this side, we're going to put another symbol right here to signify that it is to be cut on a fold. By now, this is how your pattern piece should look. I made the mistake of putting my notches right here, but remember, this is where I'm going to put the sign to show that we put it on a fold. So I put my notches right here at the top, right here, and at the bottom. I also put some 1-inch notches away from the bottom, and this is going to be our hem. And you can do the same on your piece as well. And I also drew a line kind of in the middle, and that's where we're going to label our pattern piece. So on your line that we drew in the middle with the neckline facing to your left, you're going to put the number 1 and circle it. And that means that you only cut out one piece of it. So since we're cutting on the fold, we just need one piece of it. If we put 2, then that means we'll put 2 of them folded on the line, and we just need 1. Then we're going to put a dash, and in all caps, we're going to label it bodice front. You're going to put another dash, and you're going to put 1. And that means that it's the first pattern piece for this garment. And we're not going to circle that one. 1 circled to indicate how many needs to get cut out. Bodice front, 1. First pattern piece in this garment. Next, we're going to put, to indicate that our bodice front will be cut on the fold, on that center front line, the one that we didn't put the notches on, we can either put 3 dots in the therefore arrangement with 2 like this, and then 1 like kind of in the middle, but like a little above that one. Or we could put like a rectangle using that straight edge of the center front line. And then we're going to put arrows on the lines. So either symbol will look like this. This is the first symbol, and this is the second symbol. Both of them mean the same thing, cut on the fold. Now we have our bodice front pattern piece, and let's make the back and the sleeves. We're going to unfold it, but fold it to where the front is facing each other and the back is out. As you can see, it's less steep of a curve. Now I also don't like the way this fits, so I think I'm going to make my neckline a bit bigger for the back. It'll be the same process. We'll lay our shirt down, we'll draw the center front, we'll center back line, and we're going to draw other side seam, put the dots to match the arm size, put the dots to match the neckline. Here's how it'll look after you've drawn your bodice back. This part of the neckline is less steep than the other one for the front, because you don't need it to be that deep for the back, given the neckline shape that you want. And we have our arm side, like once again, it's also not this big old block, but it's kind of on a straighter edge as well to accommodate for the back and the movement of like the shoulder and the arm. So I've also drawn my center line so we can label it. Now for labeling, this is going to be similar but a bit different. So make sure that the top part of the pattern is to your left once again. And then you're going to put the number 2 and you're going to circle it. And that means that we're going to cut out 2 pieces. So to refrain from cutting out 2 pieces on the first one, we're going to cut it on a fold. For this one, we're cutting out 2 pieces. So in the middle, you're going to put the number 2 on that line in the middle, circle it, put a dash, in all caps, put bodice back, and put the number 2. But this is the second pattern piece. Should be something like that. Number 2 circled, bodice back, number 2 pattern piece. That's when we put our notches on our shoulder seams, on our side seams, and on the hem. And we're going to move on to our sleeve. One thing I'd like to mention is, since pattern making is already time consuming, if when you're cutting out your patterns on your fabric and you don't like the length of it, instead of making a whole new pattern, you can just extend it past where you normally cut. So if your hem is about like right here, but you want it to be about right here, you could just cut past to right here instead of making a new one. Last but not least is our sleeves. To make your sleeves, you combine 2 pieces of copy paper or loose leaf, or you're going to combine at least like about this length of your pattern paper. To help us, we're going to need one of our patterns, either the front or the back of the bodice, and I chose to use the back. You want to fold our paper for the sleeve in half. Folding it in half allows us to position it properly in the middle. And then we're going to put like a small dot in the middle of the arm side on the back. I place my dot here, and I want to line up the top of my sleeve pattern right there. So I unfolded my paper and I put the where it creased that right in front of that dot on top of the other bodice one. So the sleeve pattern is kind of like a mountain, but it has more roundiness to it than it does peaks and points. So there's the bottom part right here, then there's the shorter ends like this, and then there's like the curved ones that go like that, and then they'll curve off like this. So your sleeve paper should be at an angle at this point. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler and you're going to line up the angle of the top part of the shoulder cap to the bottom part of your arm side, and you're going to draw a line on the paper. This is how your paper should look. If you put this in front of your armhole, these 2 lines should meet. They should be flush and like on top of each other. This will be our bottom of the arm sleeve. This will be our sides. The hem of them are going to be 1 inch, so keep in mind that when you're making the length. We're going to make this about 4 inches long, and we're going to put dots like from the bottom to somewhere around here to mark our 4 inches on both sides. If you want your sleeves to be longer or shorter, you can do that by any means. I drew my dot 5 inches away from the bottom. I decided that 4 might be a little too short, and I did the same thing right here. So now this is where we're going to combine with a curve this dot to the middle crease that we made when we folded the paper in half. Next to this dot, I put another small teensy tiny one 2 inches away on both sides, and from here, using the middle crease that we have when we folded the paper in half, this will be the peak of our sleeve. So this will be the part that goes in the armhole. You're going to go from here, and we started like curving it. You're going to curve it. So at this point, your sleeve pattern should resemble a horseshoe. I kind of messed up when I did the curve, but I'm going to fix that to make it more pronounced and equal as this one. But once you cut it out, you're going to go like this, go straight and then curve up and then round it out a little bit and make it as broad as possible. So I might even go ahead and cut a little bit above this, like on this line right here, or maybe a little bit higher, just to accommodate for that curvature that I want. So the mountain peak part that we just made, make sure that part is pointing to the left, and then we're going to draw a line from that part to the other end of it to label our pattern. This is how it should look when it's labeled. 2 by the sleeve, and 3. Now it's time to cut everything out. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, when you're making your sleeves, they're actually supposed to be 2 pieces, because one is going to be like inverse for the back and the other one is going to be facing correctly for the front. But what I went and did was turn the piece that I made around and put B on the back and put 2 notches, because 2 notches indicate it's the back and 1 notch indicates that it's the front. So this is how my sleeve piece looks. As you can see, I added a little bit more to it. This is my bodice front, how it will look on me. Going to be a little shorter, but like I said, I can always go in and make it as long as I want. And this is the back. So guys, if y'all like this video, make sure y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe. Like I said, if y'all like this video and want to see more content, fashion related content, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I might just come on your feed like 1 or twice, okay? Once or twice. So make sure y'all lock in by subscribing so you won't miss no more videos of 40 Days of Fashion. Y'all come back tomorrow though.